All right, guys. I just got back from Florida, and usually after a big trip, I'll start off with posting my vlogs from there. However, there's much more serious business to attend to this time. Yes, today I'll be reviewing Pipeline the Surf Coaster at SeaWorld Orlando. And before we get into this, I'll start off by going over how I think B&M is extremely overrated, kind of forceless, and all that. So we've got the dive coaster. That's a snooze fest other than the drop, which isn't even that good. You've got the wing, which doesn't really do anything. Like, all the new gen B&Ms don't really do anything, whether it's a hyper, a wing, a dive, whatever. Floorless that's a dumb gimmick. Flyers, I know a lot of people really like flyers, but me personally, they've never done anything for me. Stand up, that was a horrible, horrible concept. Just the pain and the usually dull layouts. Even like to the gigas. Like, the gigas are fun, but they don't do a whole lot. So when I first saw that SeaWorld Orlando was coming out with a new B&M model called the Surf Coaster, I saw what it did. I knew it's a stand-up coaster with the bouncing seats. I wasn't that hyped, because I know pretty much all their other models are either mid or bad. So, yeah, I wasn't expecting a whole lot. Oh my god. Oh, yeah, this is something truly special. So, we're going to start off with first impressions. To start off, like I always do, I will say this plaza is my favorite area of any park in Florida. I'm like, besides Pandora, I think this is better than any section in Florida, including the two Harry Potter sections. I mean, I feel like that's a hot take, but man, this section looks so cool. You've got real authentic sand. You've got the lake just in front of it. Everything looks so nice, so decorated. It's not like a specific theme, but it shouldn't be. Like, it's themed to surfing on the beach, and it's executed so well. You've got the fountains. Everything interacts with Pipeline. The land is Pipeline. Pipeline is the land. I don't even know what you want to say. That was dumb, but yeah, it truly looks spectacular in that section. Like, definitely one of the best areas of any park. So you're gonna get into the queue line. The queue really isn't themed that well. Actually, it really isn't themed at all. The station has a few little sayings or whatever, but yeah, it's a pretty barren queue, but that's okay, because you've got the whole area looks spectacular, and you've got the soundtrack playing in the background, which is like all this various surfing music, which really sets the tone. So yeah, it's still not bad to wait in line. I only waited like 20 minutes for the longest I waited for this, and I got 14 rides on this. So I'd say that's pretty good. So you're going to be able to pick your row most of the time. At the end of the night, they were making people go into specific rows, but yeah, for the most part, you can choose your own row. And I would say this is a coaster where it doesn't really matter where you're sitting. It's all so good. I would say sit as close to the front as possible for this one moment that's definitely better up front. But the rest of the ride is pretty much identical in any row. So, yeah, just sit as close to the front as possible, I would say, if you get the option. So, yeah, once you actually get in these trains, you're going to notice that they bounce a lot. And something else weird I've noticed is they have varying levels of, like, give to them and how much they move. So I'd actually say, like, for my experience, that row 2 load side is the best seat, because, yeah, that for some reason just moves a bit more. And I don't think it's that it moves a bit more. I think it's that, like, if you, like, squat down, you can't squat down as far, and then, like, if you stand on your tippy toes, like, for me, I'm 5'11", like, I'm tall, but If like I stand like as tall as I can't reach the top. So I think the ones that are set higher are better for taller guests for sure. So I think, yeah, row two, load side, I think is my favorite seat, or whatever you want to call it, because you're not really sitting. Um, it's the B&M vests. I do not like the vests. It's not really because it's painful, it's because you can't get airtime. That's why the Wings, Valraven, like they're all duds for me, but it can get away with it. This is the only ride I have ever been on where it doesn't matter if you're stapled or not. Like, you could be absolutely crushed on this and it won't matter at all, because you're not getting airtime from like you leaving the seat and hitting a lap bar. You're getting airtime from the seat leaving the train. It is so bizarre, but that's another great thing. You get stapled, it won't matter at all. And I'll say these ops, they could be better, but it's a lot better than the other stand-ups. I'll give it that. And, you know, I really like this train. It's themed to that surfboard. It's got all the sharks and everything on it. And, yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite train designs. I'll say that. So then you're going to pull out of the station, sit on that launch track for a few seconds, and then hit that launch. The acceleration itself, it's not about the launch. The launch itself isn't very punchy. I wasn't expecting it to be. However, like the rest of the ride, it's about what the seats do on the launch. So the moment you start accelerating, you're going to be forced to squat down because of the positive G's, and you're going to like, yeah, basically what I just said. It's going to slam you with the positives and your seat's going to move down. And then you go over the airtime hill, and that's when I realized this ride means business. So, yeah, you hit that airtime hill, and it just sends you from, like, the lowest position your seat can be in to the highest. And unless you're, like, 6'6" or something, you're going to be flying, quite literally. There will be nothing, like, holding your hands in, your feet in. You just kick your legs up and you just levitate. And I will say, all the airtime moments on this ride, it's very particular what it does. It starts off as a quick ejector pop, but then you just sit there and it's sustained for a few seconds. So like this first little speed hill, for example, you get a quick little violent ejector pop. It's not like Iron Gwazi, Wildcat Revenge style finale ejector hills, but it's a nice little pop. It's reminiscent of like the second hill on the Ride of Steel clones kind of power. But then you just levitate there and you just float. And I'll say this is the only coaster where I actually get butterflies, because yeah, like even the B&M Hypers or whatever, like I know a lot of people do on those, but this is the only one for me. And like that's crazy. And that this little B&M model that's a prototype is the only one that can do that for me. So yeah, you go over this speed hill and you get, I'm going to call it flowjector. It's not flowjector in terms of strength, but it's flowjector in the terms of you like getting a quick ejector pop and then it morphing into sustained floater. And then, again, the whole selling point of this is there's nothing attaching you besides the vest, and you can't really notice it there. It's just kind of hugging you in. Like, you still feel like you're just floating there, just absolutely nothing attached to you, which is phenomenal. So then you land back down, and something I was concerned about is like, oh, if you land wrong, like, would you break your ankle or anything? Like, no, you're gonna land just fine, trust me. B&M knows what they're doing when it comes to safety, so yeah, you'll be just fine. So you land back down, and yeah, that's also really fun, just like knowing the ride and learning it. Like, if you can lean into some of the positives and like spring load the next hill, like that's really gonna like make the ride better if you can like lead into some of those hills. Like I wouldn't say intentionally like jump as high as possible, because then you're ruining like I don't care how powerful your vertical jump is. Like I do Ninja Warrior, so I have a pretty good vertical jump, but it's not, trust me, it's not going to be nearly as powerful as this ride's natural forces. So don't like jump instead of letting the ride jump for you. But like if you can lean into it and like kind of like start like popping up like at just the right times. It takes practice. Like I rode it 14 times, so I have a pretty good feel for it, but yeah, if you only have a couple rides, just let the ride do what it wants to you. Don't try to like lean into it or anything. So yeah, that's my advice for that. After that little launch section, Jesus Christ, I don't know. I might still be a little sick from the pollen in Florida. But yeah, anyways, after that launch section, you've got that turnaround, and it's actually a surprisingly fun turnaround because you do get a little popped out of your seat on the load side, which is another reason why you always go load side for me. And then after that, you're gonna, again, come back down in your seat, and then this next hill is definitely the best part of the ride for me. It's this huge, like, sustained 3 or 4 second, again, ejector pop at the start, just floating butterflies all the way down. And then you've got those fountains shooting up at the bottom of it. It's truly a special moment. One of my all-time favorite elements for sure. And then you've got the corkscrew, which I think is better than some people said it would be, but I will admit it's one of the weaker parts of the ride. You're just kind of gracefully floating through it. It feels like a bit more intense of a normal corkscrew. And you do get a little popped out of your seat, but not a whole lot. So definitely one of the weaker moments, but still fun. And then you've got the moment that's definitely better up front, and that's the little pop into this turnaround. You get another, this is just pure ejector. It's really short, not sustained at all, but it's definitely good ejector. So you'll just go skyrocketing out of your seat. You're just flying. And then, yeah, you hit this little turnaround section going to the right. You hit this turn to the left. And this whole time, like, it's so cool. You can feel, like, when the G's are piling on, you're, like, all the way down. And then when it, like, levels off, you can feel yourself, like, standing up a bit more. And then, like, the G's are piling on again. And like you're back down to that lowest spot, and yeah, that's really cool. So definitely like the best meandering twister section of any ride. So then comes another great flowjector hill, again, not in strength in terms of morphing from ejector to floater. And then this one's a bit quicker, not quite as sustained as some of the others, but definitely really cool. You've got another little turnaround and transition to the left. Again, just more positives, more like that surfing kind of feeling. And then you hit probably the most violent moment on the ride, probably my second favorite moment on the ride. Not quite as good as that big sustained hill, but definitely a really solid moment still. It's this S-turn snapping from going to the left to the right. It feels like kind of like a mini I-305 snap, but in the standing or surfing position, whatever it is. So, yeah, you're just there, and you get flown to the right. I mean, yeah, geez, I'm still suffering from the pollen, but yeah, you got crazy ejector airtime throughout that. It's really shockingly violent how fast you get shot out of your seat. Like during that moment, you're hitting those positives. You're like sort of squatting at that point, and then you just get violently tossed to the right. And yeah, you just kick your legs up, and like this more than any other ride feels like you're just getting thrown out of your seat. I mean, obviously, like Wildcats Revenge, Iron Gwazi, whatever, like they're obviously way more violent, but that like there's something about this ride just kicking your legs and arms up and not having anything between like you and the ground and the sky, like it's truly something special. So then after that violent ejector pop, you're going to turn around and hit the brakes. This turnaround again piles on some okay positives, nothing too crazy. And then yeah, that's your ride on Pipeline. This was my 300th credit, and I was really debating between making this or Mako my 300th, and I'll tell you, I'm really happy I made this 300 instead of Mako. I'll have a review on that, but Mako definitely was a bit underwhelming, whereas this is the most underrated coaster I've ever been on, period. Like, it is my number 9 overall out of 306 credits now. Like, I thought it could be top 25 potentially. Top 10? Like, it's top 10. It's over rides like Pantheon and Maverick. Like, it's ridiculous. I didn't think a B&M could ever be that good, but yeah, it's absolutely absurd what this ride does. And yes, it could be weird the first time. It definitely is a ride that gets better, I'll say, with practice, because yeah, once you learn the ride and learn like when you're going to pop up, how it's going to happen, like you can like again lean into some of those moments a bit better. But yeah, it's truly a spectacular ride. At night it's even better, obviously, and just it's truly a special ride. I can't say enough good things about it. I could go on for really forever if my throat wasn't a little like fogged up still, but yeah, overall I'm gonna have to give it a 974 out of 1,000. I think that's a really appropriate ranking. Not I'm gonna be realistic, it's not up there with like I-305 and El Toro, but like damn, is it just such a phenomenal ride. Like everyone, like even the people who like this thing, I feel like don't give it the credit it deserves. Like the people who really like this, I feel like I'll say, oh yeah, it's second best in the park, it top 10, maybe top 5 in Florida, but like yeah, this thing is ridiculous. This needs to be up there with some of the elite coasters like Sky Rush and Maverick, like I said before. So yeah, that's my review of Pipeline the Surf Coaster at SeaWorld Orlando. Let me know what you guys think of this ride down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.